Hey everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. I have some good news to share. The Justice Department is finally stepping up and starting to charge people for threatening election officials and possibly election workers. 54-year-old Texas resident, a man named Chad Christopher Stark, has been arrested. He was charged for not just making threats, but actually posting a bounty on Craigslist. Prosecutors didn't list the name of his intended targets, but they provided details about what Stark wrote in this, essentially like a call to action and, like I said, a bounty on these people's heads. So this occurred the day before the domestic terrorist attack at the Capitol, so January 5th of 2021. Stark posted on Craigslist that it was, quote, time to kill. And he specifically mentioned these officials by name. He wrote, quote, Georgia patriots, it's time for us to take back our state from these lawless, treasonous traitors. It's time to invoke our Second Amendment right. It's time to put a bullet in the treasonous Chinese official A. Then we work our way down to official B, the local and federal corrupt judges. Now, of course, Stark used the actual names of the officials, but the court filing just lists them as officials A, B, and C. So there are three people that were targeted by this guy. And Stark's Craigslist post went on to say, quote, it's our duty as American patriots to put an end to the lives of these traitors and take back our country by force. We can no longer wait on the corrupt law enforcement in the corrupt courts. If we want our country back, we have to exterminate these people. One good, loyal patriot deer hunter in camo and a rifle can send a very clear message to these corrupt governors. Militia up, Georgia. It's time to spill blood. We need to pay a visit to official C and her family as well and put a bullet her behind the ears. So even though the indictment doesn't include the intended victims' names, it makes clear that these charges stem from threats to Georgia officials and or election workers. So we can surmise who Stark was targeting, because you guys may recall that I shared a story a couple of weeks ago wherein I talked about election workers who were run out of their homes because they were besieged by threats from Trump supporters. And the FBI even advised these women to go into hiding for their own safety. But it appeared at the time, and it has for like a year, that no official action had been taken against the people who were threatening them. Well, those women, like I shared with you guys, fought back and they filed defamation lawsuits against the people who were falsely accusing them publicly of election fraud. You may also remember that Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, and his family were also threatened. They were threatened with physical violence, with sexual violence. And that's, after he refused to help Trump overturn the election. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp was also a target, or became a target, of MAGA ire. He failed to fall in line and, to also perpetuate Trump's lies. So any or all of these people could be the subject of these charges brought against Stark. Actually, someone who spoke with the Washington Post said that for sure Raffensperger and Brian Kemp were two of the three. So it's unknown. I'm assuming it's that other election worker, the poll worker. And these threats became so widespread and so vicious that in June of last year, the Department of Justice created a task force just specifically for election threats. And they say that so far, the task force has received over 850 referrals. And they say that they've opened dozens of investigations, but this, for some reason, is the first time that someone's actually been charged. And the task force says that they're also taking action to try and prevent violence. But once again, it seems like the authorities are just playing it safe. I mean, you literally had Trump's DOJ sending people out, shooting and killing Michael Reinl, the guy who was suspected of killing a Trump supporter in Portland, Oregon. And This guy was just gunned down. I mean, he was shot 30 times in the street when witnesses say they never even identified themselves before they started shooting. So they essentially committed an extrajudicial murder before this guy was allowed his day in court and to be judged by a jury of his peers. Now we have on the other side Merrick Wimpy Garland playing patty cakes with domestic terrorists. And that's what these people are. They're using threats of violence and intimidation tactics for political means. That is the definition of terrorism. And I don't want to hear about their First Amendment rights. Threats of violence, trying to intimidate people to get your way, essentially throwing a violent adult tantrum, is not protected speech. It never has been. It never will or should be. But, the DOJ and the judges are just way too lenient with these nutcases. And the Washington Post shared a story about a man whose conviction was actually overturned after he threatened President Obama. So this was quite a few years ago, but he wrote on a message board, quote, "Regarding Obama, FK the expletive, he will have a 50 cal in his head soon." And then he wrote, quote, "Shoot the blank." I don't know the words he used to describe Obama. I can imagine, but the Post only used the word expletive to describe it. Anyway, an appeals court threw out this guy's conviction because they said that his statements were predictive and exhortatory. So basically, these judges, they're giving people instructions. They're giving them a roadmap and a lesson on how to get away with threats of violence against everyone, including even the president of the United States. So as long as you're just encouraging violence, as long as you're just predicting violence against someone, apparently that's totally cool. That's not a crime. It's complete and total bullshit. Biden needed to appoint a left version of Bill Barr to just to even drag the country back to center. We needed somebody that far left. The right was going to cry. They were going to whine about everything being politically motivated anyway. So just go for it. Why do you have to bring in this mamby-pamby, middle of the road? Oh, I don't want to appear political. So instead, I'm going to make decisions that are purely political. That's not what we need. He's not cutting it. So frustrating, guys. Anyway, I will let you know if I hear more. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care. I'll talk with you soon.